If you stay inshore, get the popping corks and mirror lures ready as the redfish bite goes off this week in all of our coastal regions. We're also talking dolphin offshore, and of course, our guides have you covered on all of our freshwater species. All that and more here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Today we have Captain Tommy Derringer filling in for Captain Rick Murphy. Good to have you back with us, Tommy. How's everything been going?
It's been going great.
We had
a little week off there because of some weather, but fishing's been good, and I'm happy to be back.
We're happy to have you. Well, speaking of, you may have noticed we had a repeat show last week due to the uncertain path of Hurricane Dorian. While Florida was spared, Dorian left devastation in the Bahamas. There's been an outpour of relief efforts, and some of our sponsors have actually set up ways you can help too. Blue Water Gear has created a We Stand Together performance shirt where 100% of the proceeds will be going towards raising funds for food and supplies to help rebuild, restore, and recover. Head to bluewatergear.com to get yours and help support today. Yeah, that was quite a week we had last week experiencing the uncertainty, but we're back, we're ready to fish. But Dave, we can't forget about you at the CCA Workbench, so tell us what's going on in your blue water gear. Look at you.
Well, I'm gonna, we got Tommy here, so we might as well pick his brain, and we're gonna talk about fly fishing for redfish, because it's a challenge that everybody should try at least once.
Absolutely. Tommy, you ready for that challenge?
It's a small brain, it'll be easy to pick. Easy. Big head, small brain.
Big head, small brain. All right, Tommy, let's get to our first order of business in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region with Captain Carl Weston. Give us some good news, Carl.
Hey guys. Well, the good news is the redfish action is still hot. It's been good in the upper coast of the Bean Lake. They're still producing good numbers of redfish in front of the bayou drains and oyster shells in the middle of the bay. Swim baits and paddle tails have been producing good bites. And if you catch it calm, there's some big open water schools out there crushing pogies and ribbonfish right now. The jetties are still hot, throwing crankbait parallel to the rocks. That's producing good bites. Over in Galveston Bay and West Bay, the area has been holding good numbers of redfish also along North Shoreline. The marsh areas around Green Island has a lot of fish also. You'll have to get up there in high tide throwing small topwaters. But now the open schools in the middle of Galveston Bay are still present, but the fish are big now. Giant bulls, and they're working the rocks down around the ship channel and up north. Still producing good bites for anglers on crankbaits, spinnerbaits, and throwing parallel to those rocks coming into jetties on the north end. Some of the guys in Trinity are doing well working pods and mullet along the mouth of the Trinity River also still. And today we got a photo of Tiffany with a redfish.
You go, Tiff.
Nice.
Love it. Beautiful.
So moving on to trout, guys. In Sabine, the trout bite has been moderate at the north end of the lake where the mullet are thick. We've been throwing small paddle tails and topwater whenever we can. When we see the bait on the surface, it usually works the best. Over in East Galveston Bay, still producing good numbers along the oyster reefs. You'll see the bird action in the morning along the shoreline. Over there in West Bay, fish has been pretty good on the north shoreline, working slicks in the little bay over there on the scattered shell. And Trinity Bay has been producing some good trout along the gas wells in the middle of the bay. There's lots of small trout out there right now. Their keepers mixed in, so you have to kind of grind through them right now. Paddle tails and soft plastics with an 1/8 ounce jig head is going to be your lure of choice. Or live shrimp under a popping cork has also been a good player. Here we have a picture of a trout.
Carl, keep going, man. We don't have that picture. Tell us about the swordfish.
All right, well, the swordfish bite here in Texas Gulf has been consistent this summer. Although we don't have a lot of anglers that really target swordfish in our area, the fishery is really strong. We have a lot of smaller fish here, which is great for the future of our fishery. In fact, the fact that it's such a long run to our fishing grounds, wind, weather, and currents play such a big role in a successful trip here. Now, success is not measured here, with a catch always, which is another reason some anglers don't have the patience for sword fishing. With all the conditions that factor into this type of fishing, a few strikes could be all you get in a day. Now, last week we had the pleasure of fishing with Captain Rick and his crew, and we had a great bite. We went 5 for 9 on sword, caught some nice Warsaw grouper. All in all, had a great trip. And I believe we got a picture of our boss, Captain Rick, here with a swordfish.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Looking
man.
good. Wish we were on that trip, Tommy.
Yeah.
I heard you guys had fun, Carl.
We had a blast. So staying offshore, we talked about a little bit of deep dropping while we're out there. We'll do that. We'll swordfish during the day and come in a little tighter sometimes in the morning and deep drop for barrelfish, tile, yellow edge grouper. So we're fishing that area about 12 to 1,400 foot of water. I've been dropping the R&R deep drop rig with about 5 pounds of weight with cut squid or live piggy perch, and have had great results lately. But any kind of cut bait will usually get you bit. And here's a pretty good picture of a stringer from last week.
Oh man, that's some good eating right there, Carl.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the report, man. Here are the hot spots, the mirror lure hot spots for the Upper Coast region. Inshore, redfish on Sabine Lake in front of bayou drains and oyster shelves. And then Galveston Bay and West Bay along the north shoreline use paddle tails, swim baits, and spinner baits. And offshore, swordfish, tilefish, barrelfish, yellow edge grouper, and golden tile in 1,200 to 1,400 feet range using R&R deep drop rig with 5 pounds of weight. That's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight, and that's a lot of options.
That's a
lot
of fish, a lot of weight.
Sweet. All right, well, let's welcome Captain Mike McFarland in the YETI Upper Fresh region, filling in for Johnny Geis. We're talking Lake Fork and Tawakoni today, Mike, so let's hear your report.
Well, thank you first for having me, Tommy and Brie. It's a pleasure. Lake Fork is a real famous big bass lake, but we're going to talk about crappie today. Lake Fork's really becoming well known for big crappie. Again, usually fishermen come from all over the country chasing the trophy-sized bass. But since the recent release of Garmin's Live Scope, it's really gaining more attention. Seeing anglers targeting the bigger trophy-sized crappie. Almost daily we're seeing crappie that are over 2 pounds, and that's equivalent to catching a 7-pound largemouth. 2.5-pound crappie's like an 8 or 9-pound largemouth, and a rare 3-pound crappie is really like a 10-pound largemouth that everybody seems to come searching for. So, it's a really unique lake, and it's full of those 3-pounders. How would you actually target something like that? Well, it's very similar in the bass. You can basically use bigger baits. You fish big fish areas. But more importantly, today, we are literally using that Garmin Live Scope to actually find the bigger fish exclusively. We catch most of our numbers of crappie just fishing man-made brush piles. The real bigger crappie, they tend to be in smaller schools. They suspend in the deeper trees, the real timber, the lay-down trees, and the Live Scope allows you to really search out these areas. Believe it, I just saw it firsthand. You can actually pick out the fish you want to catch. You can pull it away from a fish that's coming to get it that you don't want to catch. You can really put that minnow or that jig right on their nose. And typically a 1/4 ounce jig tipped with a lively minnow is the best way to catch the bigger crappie in the group. Lake Fork Marina Crappie Guide, Cameron Burnett, he's been pulling out 2-pounders on a daily basis. Johnny got a first-hand lesson from Cameron, and it's just amazing to see how that trolling motor spot lock, the Garmin's Live Scope, you can put the two together, pinpoint, and it's almost like being at the state fair tossing a dime into a little game. You're never making a cast without a fish being present. So it's really amazing to watch them drop those jigs right on the top of the biggest crappie in the tree and actually catch it. Usually too, once they've caught that bigger fish, the rest of the school will tend to move off for whatever reason, and you'll go back to searching. But we're definitely seeing big schools of crappie already transitioning into the shallow water for fall. Lake Fork's kind of turned over, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a mild fall for us this year as far as the turnover. And, this week we already caught a lot of fish from 12 to 14 feet. So it seems like everything's kind of moving in already. And the fall fishing is very popular and about ready to really get good. Actually, some of the bigger crappie are even full of the threadfin shad right now, which is a good sign too. They're going to fatten up for the winter. And the Lake Fork's in great shape. It's, like I said, perfect ready for fall transition. Glad to see the hot weather gone. And here is actually guide Cameron Burnett with a picture of the crappie weighing almost 3 pounds.
Wow. That's a big one.
He chose that one right there.
Yeah.
And he chose that. That's right. He picked it out of a school. He specifically caught the individual fish. Amazing. This next picture is actually a guide customer of Johnny, Selena Gonzalez, and she got to experience the live scope. And this is her with a couple of big ones just from fishing last week.
Wow.
Nice. That's some awesome technology this Garmin's got there. Tell us about the stripers.
It's in changing the business for sure. These stripers now, Lake Tawakoni, man, the big stripers have been really good this year. The past few days, guide Matt Cartwright, they've been catching some big ones, basically using large flutter spoons, big slabs, and paddle tail swim baits on 1-ounce jig heads. Matt's starting the morning now throwing top waters, catching limits of sand bass and some hybrids mixed in. You can throw a spoon or a swim bait and probably catch quicker numbers because you're not dealing with treble hooks. But there's nothing better than throwing and catching them on top water. You get to blow up. It's a great experience. It's hot and furious for the first hour. And once that kind of lays down or they finish their limits, Matt's spending the rest of the day targeting structure, using the graphs and the side scan to find big schools of large stripers mixed with big hybrids. And they are catching those on a regular basis. Kind of change when they go offshore. They go a little heavier flutter spoons. They'll let them fall all the way to the bottom. And a big snap. So they're really kind of bringing that 10, 12 feet up in the water column and letting it re-fall. And that's usually when the bites are coming on the fall. So you got to watch your line. And it's kind of a learned technique. Once you get the hang of it, you can get hit multiple times on a cast before you hook up. But it's pretty neat. It's really fun. If the spoon bite flows, then they kind of go back to the heavy lead slab and they really pop it off the bottom. And if the gizzard shatter or schooling, and then they're throwing a big paddle tail out there too. But it's good fishing at Tawakoni as well, and the chartreuse and pearl is probably either one of those are going to be your best bet. Here's a couple of big stripers from Matt Cartwright. Wow. Yep, and that's kind of what you can expect to catch if you go out there with Matt.
Nice looking fish there.
Looks like a fun time.
Tell us about the tournament.
They're like hooking on to putting a treble hook on a railroad track. Hook them and they're gone.
All right, we have the tournament to talk about.
Yeah, I do. If I got a few more seconds, hey, Lake Fork holds a lot of tournaments, but this is our biggest and our best. The annual Bob Steely Big Bass Splash Tournament will be held next weekend on Fork. It's hosted right here out of Lake Fork Marina. English come from all over the U.S. trying to get a part of $516,000 in cash and prizes. I personally can tell you first, second, and third is our boats. I just don't know of any tournament where you can win a boat for third place. It's an amazing tournament. If you just love to fish, you want to come out and fish a tournament or get out here to Fork for crappie, we sure love to have you. Wish you all a great year and catch some big fish.
Thanks, Mike. Great report. Here are the hot spots for the Upper Fresh region. Lake Fork, big crappie biting on jigs and minnows, bass on drop shot rigs and small square bills. Lake Tawakoni, big stripers are biting on slabs, big spoons, and swim baits. White bass are schooling early on topwaters. Did I say that right?
Yes, Tawakoni.
Yes.
You get a boat, and you get a boat. Everyone gets a boat. I know, right? First, second, and third place. Love it. All right, we've got your Middle Fresh Region captain chomping at the bit coming up next. But first, Dave Ferrell is doing what he does best, chomping at the bit over at the CCA Workbench for rigs and techniques.
I'm doing what I'm doing best. I'm going to let Tommy talk.
Chomp.
But Carl said those redfish were eating ribbon fish. I think this fly looks a lot like a ribbon
does.
fish.
It looks like that.
Ribbony-esque,
Yeah.
for sure. All right, we'll be back with Hipster Dave and his glasses.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin, join the club. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 Offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now.
All right, Dave, we're here at the CCA Workbench, the Rigs and Techniques. That's where we are, and we're going to talk a little bit about fly fishing for redfish.
Well, you're going to talk a lot about it.
Okay.
I'm going to feed you some questions, but you're going to talk mostly. You know, probably the hardest part about fly fishing is getting started fly fishing. So I know a lot of people think it's a little intimidating. Why do you think that is?
You know, it can be intimidating for a couple of different reasons. One reason in particular is you can walk into a fly shop and there's a lot of stuff that's different than you would see in a regular tackle shop.
That's right.
And a lot of people think that fly fishermen have a stigma about them, that they're a little snooty, but they're really not, man. You go into those fly shops, you talk to those guys in there, and you tell them, if you tell them that you've never picked up a fly rod, they're going to get really excited.
Several times.
They're going to get really excited.
That's actually a good strategy. If you go in there saying, I've never done it before, you're going to get a lot more help than if you go in there trying to tell them what you think you know.
That's right. That's exactly right. So really, you shouldn't be intimidated by it.
Right.
It is hard to learn it for some people, but that whole learning process to me is just as much fun as actually catching the first fish that you get on the fly rod.
It's part of the challenge.
It's part of the challenge.
And once you've caught your 50th or 200th or 300th redfish on a popper or something like that, it's cool to go and try to catch them in a different way.
Exactly.
You know, and I found that out. I've just now recently started doing some fly fishing in some streams and stuff, and I'm pretty much falling in love with it. And I'm glad you're here to tell us how to catch a redfish.
Well, you know, it's a perfect tool to catch a redfish, because what's one of the things redfish eat more than anything else?
Crustaceans, your shrimp and
small shrimp,
crabs.
small crabs, all that kind of stuff. So you'll see this is one of my fly boxes, and it's everything in there looks like a shrimp or a crab.
Right.
So, you know, being able to present something, let's pick this guy up.
Okay.
So this little crab fly. So when you've got a shallow water redfish and he's eating small crustaceans, sometimes it's hard to present even a small soft plastic because it makes a big splash. So this is really a perfect
especially if they're in real shallow water.
They're in really shallow water. This is a perfect tool to put this little fly in front of a redfish without him knowing that you're doing it. And because it looks so lifelike, he's probably going to eat it.
And these look a lot more lifelike than a lot of the lures and stuff that we use. A lot of the things I throw at redfish, I'm thinking they've never seen anything that's ever looked like that. Why would they eat it? But all of this stuff kind of in the water looks like what they eat.
It does. I mean, and you know, that's another side of fly fishing, is you can get into tying your own flies. And when you're doing that, you can get real creative with them, really make some of these flies guys are tying now. I mean, you really can't tell the difference between the real stuff and the fly. But this fly right here is probably one of my favorite ones to toss for a redfish. This is basically a version of a gurgler, is what they call it.
Right.
It's a topwater fly. It pushes water. It's like a little popper, basically.
That's another thing when you're trying to catch redfish, especially on topwater stuff. If you're using a plug, a lot of times they'll come up and they'll push that bow wave, will push a plug out of the way. That thing's probably not going to move much, is it?
No, this is a perfect size for him to be able to really eat it, and it's not going to be able to push this out of the way. And it's one of the coolest things that I've done in redfishing, to watch him come up and eat this thing. I mean, it is a little tougher to toss because it's a bigger profile and it's got some foam on it. So, you know, if you're just starting out, it might be kind of tough, but real popular these days, and a lot of fun to toss this guy.
So if you're just starting out, what kind of outfit are you going to try to look for, you think? What size?
So, you know, if you're really talking redfish, probably anywhere from a 7 weight to an 8 or 9 weight. This is an 8 weight that I have here. This is probably the best, you know, in between.
Middle of the road there.
Yeah, you know, an 8 or 9 is going to be easier to toss when it's windy. It's going to be a little easier to get the line out there. So you might do that. And you also can overline these reels a little bit. So if you get a 7 weight rod, you can put an 8 weight or even a 9 weight line on there.
Right.
And that also will make it a little easier to cast. But really, as far as getting out there and actually fishing and learning how to cast, find somebody that knows how to do it. Most of the shops are going to have an instructor, or go with a guide. You know, all these guys that guide in saltwater, the majority of them know how to toss a fly rod. and they're going to be able to help you out a lot.
So what kind of, I mean, you know, you see a lot of these guys on TV doing bonefish and tarpon, they're casting 100 feet and stuff.
Right.
That's really not what you have to do to catch redfish, because really?
Yeah, you know, so the part of the beauty of fly fishing for redfish is a lot of times the shots that you have are going to be really close to the boat, which is why they make redfish specific lines. So make sure if that's what you're going to be fishing for, you get a specific line for it. These are real head-heavy lines, which makes it really easy to make a short cast. Now you can, I mean, once you get good at it, it's fun to get that 100-foot cast out there.
Right.
But you know what? It's also fun to be able to just make a short cast and watch the whole thing go down right there in front of you. And that's the beauty of fly fishing for redfish, is you can get so close to them a lot of times, whether you're waiting or if you're in a skiff.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thanks for filling us in.
Yeah, man. Get out there and do some fly fishing.
I'm going to do it.
Have you done it?
I haven't, but I have to say you guys are looking pretty fly over there at the CCA Workbench. Okay,
Nice.
moving on. Guys, CCA now has their own redfish license plate you can purchase for your truck, car, or boat trailer. It costs $30, but $22 from each purchase goes towards their habitat program. So make sure to head to txdmv.com to support CCA's Plates for Projects program to get yours today. All right, Matt Losher is sitting pretty in the Star-Tron Middle Fresh region, giving us the goods on Lake Buchanan, Richland Chambers, Toledo Bend, and Sam Rayburn. Talk to us, Matt.
All right, Brie. Yeah, I'm going to start off this week talking about the largemouth bass at Lake Buchanan. I'm going to start off with a bang here. Mr. Jared Poole down there with Hill Country Hammer Guide Service has been just pounding on the big one. He actually just won a Texas Fishing League tournament there a couple weekends ago with a 27-pound stringer, which is just a great bag of fish for this time of year. Lots of big ones. Second place in that tournament was only like 15 pounds. So I would definitely give Jared a call right now. He's the man to put you on some big fish if you're interested in doing that. He tells me that he's catching a lot of these fish in Lake Buchanan on flutter spoons out in 30 to 40 foot of water over the treetops. So out there pretty deep. And I've got a picture here for you real quick of one of Jared's clients with a 8-pound bass they caught with him on one of those flutter spoons. I think he said that one was like 8.8, so almost a 9-pounder. Real good bass for late summer like this. Now moving on over to LBJ. Jared says that the fishing has been pretty good over there as well. They're coming from brush piles in about 20 to 30 foot of water, and some are being caught on a football jig around seawalls as well. Now up on Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman Selman tells me that the water is a nice and warm, 87 up to about 90 degrees right now, and the bass are coming from cattails and around deeper docks with brush. He's catching those fish on Texas rig creature bait and shaky head. That's kind of been the ticket for those two areas. And I also wanted to mention real quick that Mr. Thurman Selman offers reel cleaning and repair. So if you've been using those reels all summer, you know, and you're looking for somebody to get them cleaned up or fix something that's broken on them, call him at 972-345-9370. He'll fix you up. You can even mail them into him if you need. Now back to the bass fishing on Toledo Bend. The bite has been really good when you get around them, especially early in the morning. But the thing is that the fish are really ganged up right now. And this is something that happens every year around this time, and it can seem like it's a really tough bite, but when you find them, there's a lot of them, and they're usually biting pretty good. So just don't get too discouraged if you aren't catching them. Just keep moving, keep looking, look for the shad, look for the activity, and you should get on them. For the faster action, you're going to want to look shallow. The shallow areas along the edge of the creek channels where there's some good stumps and shallow cover around, throw a small green pumpkin type worm or like a shad imitating bait, a crankbait, maybe even a little popper. And then for the bigger fish, look offshore. You're going to move out deeper out to the main lake in about 12 to 20 foot of water and drag a plum-colored bass assassin worm or even a deep diving crankbait to fire them up real good. Now over on Sam Rayburn, the shallow bite is pretty much the deal. It's still producing most of the numbers over there and the size. Look for cypress trees near creek channels and pitch a small creature bait in a natural color around those in about 1 to 4 foot of water. They're not too picky about what color, you know, watermelon red, green pumpkin, they're all working good. And you should be able to fit pretty often doing that. Now, swapping species to crappie, they've been biting pretty well at Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. You're going to want to find them out there on the deeper timber near the ledges in about 12 to 25 foot of water. Minnows and jigs are catching them this week. My favorite jig is still that Pinfish Assassin, Pro Tiny Shad, and Monkey Milk, or Monkey Milk with a chartreuse tail. And I've got another picture here for you of one of my clients this past week with about a 2-pound white crappie he caught with me. Real nice slab. I had a lot of fun with those guys that day. The fishing's been pretty good, so we're enjoying it even with the heat. And now lastly, I'm going to talk about the old whisker fish. Catfish are still biting really good. You can catch a ton of them right now on Toledo Bend. Look for them underneath those shad schools in about 15 to 25 foot of water. Drop a live minnow near the bottom or some shad if you can catch some shad, and catch them at those great eating fish.
Thanks, Matt. That was an awesome report. Here are the hot spots for the Middle Fresh region. Largemouth bass are biting deep at Lake Buchanan and LBJ, and they're shallow at Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. Crappie are in 12 to 25 feet at Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn, and catfish are under shad schools in 15 to 25 feet at Toledo Bend.
All right, everyone, listen up. Now's your chance to fish a big money tournament without huge entry fees. The Los Cabos Big Game Charter Boat Classic is the only tournament in the world that puts over $40,000 in cash plus prizes with no entry fees whatsoever. All visitors to Los Cabos have to do is to enter a charter boat from the Los Cabos fleet during the 4-day event, which runs from November 19th through the 22nd, and fill out your registration form online. It's the only free angler entry tournament in Los Cabos, and you can choose to fish only one day or all 4. It's entirely up to you. November is the perfect time to visit the Los Cabos area. The weather is spectacular with mild day temperatures, calm seas, and an incredible game fish bite. World-renowned for the large game fish swimming just offshore, the Los Cabos area boasts some of the largest tuna, dolphin, and wahoo in the IGFA record books. There's no other tournament in the world quite like the Los Cabos Big Game Charter Boat Classic, and there's no better time than now to visit LosCabosTournaments.com and register to fish in the special no entry fee Big Game Tournament. November's coming up quick, guys, so make sure you get registered. All right, we're getting rigged up for the Middle Coast and Lower Fresh region, so stay hooked. But before we go, we want to remind you, if you'd like to catch up with our crew and everything fishing in Texas, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And PRASEK'S Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO Offshore Outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's Power Pole Tip of the Week is about the switches that are gonna come in the box with your power poles. Now understand, guys, if you buy 2 power poles, you're gonna have 4 switches. There's no need to program all 4 of those switches. Just pick your favorite switch. Like in my case, I really love the multifunction switch. I can program this to run all the poles on my boat. So there's no need to use all 4 switches. Now, the reason why I like the multifunction switch is simply because I can isolate the individual poles. I can make one go up while the other one stays down. And while I'm out drift fishing with paddles, this seems to work very well. I can manipulate the angle of the boat. The other thing that I do is sometimes I'll pick up one pole, pivot the boat using the trolling motor, get the angle that I like going down the shoreline, and then I can pick up the secondary pole. So keep in mind that you don't need all the switches, and use your multifunction switch to manipulate the boat the way you want. And that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
two-stepping with the switches.
He's hitting the switch. I tell you what, that's just another thing. Those power poles are so amazing. The switch, my favorite thing about the switch is you can just tap it twice to go down or tap it twice and make it come up, and it's so easy. It's just.
Yeah, changes the game a little bit.
It really does.
Just a little bit.
Awesome.
All right, so Tommy, this past weekend, Rick and I were invited to fish in the Naples Take a Soldier fishing tournament, and it was quite an experience. Rick was inshore fishing with Captain Ron Houston and 2 soldiers for redfish, and I was offshore fishing with Captain Mike Avanon and 2 soldiers for red groupers. Rick ended up placing 3rd for inshore, and we ended up placing 2nd for offshore, just 1 pound away from taking 1st. But regardless of winning or not, it was an honoring and humbling experience to be able to give back to our soldiers in the armed forces, giving them a fun-filled weekend of fishing to remember. So it's kind of a little something we wanted to share with everybody.
That's very awesome.
All right, fall is approaching in the Middle Coast region, and Captain Bink Grimes has some good news falling on you. Let's hear it, Bink.
Well, that's pretty funny.
Thanks.
I tell you, our fall fishing, it's kind of hot right now. Still, temperatures in the hundreds or above, and but a lot of our fall fishing is taking place. We're starting to see a few birds work in our bays, which that usually doesn't happen until about October or November, but it's already starting to happen in September. So we're catching them on top waters and soft plastic out in the middle of East Bay. Captain Tommy Alexander, he released numerous trout over 5 pounds this week that were caught while drifting, with soft plastic and live shrimp under a cork. The low barometer and storms building in the Gulf usually is it's a recipe for big trout. And this week we've had storms out there, and there's been a lot of big trout caught and released out there. When there's storms brewing in the Gulf, they seem to really, really bite for us. Grassy banks along the north shoreline of East Bay are holding solid trout for waders, tossing live bait and top waters. In the upper end of West Matagorda Bay has been consistent. The trout at 5 pounds over shell. The shell there at Coon Island and the Barge and Half Moon Reef are holding large schools of trout on Bass Assassins and Little Johns. In Port O'Connor, Guide Lynn Smith said that high tides, they kind of scattered the fish in the back lakes and bayous. He said he's seen a lot of trout under birds and in the back reaches of the bay. The best trout have come over shell on top waters on the incoming tide. Waders working the flats adjacent to Pascagoula found good fish on sheep pups and saltines, and then mirror lures worked along the rocks at the jetties worked well. Freeport, those back lakes around Bastrop and Chocolate Bay have been good, and then the live shrimp worked on the edges and drop-offs have worked well. Around Rockport, good top water action around Super Flats and Mesquite Bay. Super Flats really turns on when you get those autumn tides that we're starting to get. And those tossing bait around Mud Island and Trailer Island scored pretty good too. We've got Dave Brown there in East Matagorda Bay, one of 6 fish that we released that day, over 25 inches. So pretty good day. Inshore redfish, September's a prime time for redfish action. It's Gulf found along the beach from Surfside to Port Aransas. All the jetties are playing well. The Surfside and Freeport jetties are holding lots of redfish on cracked blue crabs, mullet, and fresh table shrimp. Port O'Connor jetties have been good for reds in the 35 to 60 foot of water around the rocks. Guide Michael Roth of Matagorda took advantage of the swollen tides this week and caught lots of bruiser reds on West Matagorda Bay. He's been using live shrimp when available, but when not, he's throwing chunks of mullet out there. Waders in West Matagorda Bay on the south shoreline have found fish on live shrimp like casting the points and the shell. And as always, this time of year, our slot redfish are found in bunches of 2 dozen or more along the grass line. You'll see birds working and just chunk underneath there. There's just big old pods of reds. Guide Brett Sweeney said he's catching those schooling fish already. That's a real true sign that fall's here. Inshore, black drum, elevated tide, the same place you're catching those redfish, you're catching those drum. If you find a piece of shell this time of year, you throw a live shrimp against there on a leader rigged about a foot underneath, and you'll do well around Shell Island, Twin Island, Crab Lake, and Oyster Lake. And then Bill Day's Reef, Panther Reef, and all those reefs in the middle of San Antonio Bay have been holding fish as well. Guide Floyd Cerruti said he's been working the reef south shoreline of West Matagorda Bay in 4 to 5 pound drum. Live shrimp has been the best under a mid-coast popping cork, like I said, with about a 12-inch leader. Shells in Turtle Bay and Tres Palacios Bay is holding fish on the incoming tide. There's been some larger fish on Half Moon Reef in the middle of East Matagorda Bay around Bowler Bow and Raymond Shoals. We've been catching, scattered black drum when we're fishing for trout. Offshore tarpon, there's been a lot of, a few boats on the beachfront lately, plenty of Silver Kings in 25 to 40 foot of water from Freeport to Matagorda. Then around Port O'Connor, those fish to 90 pounds have been caught around the jetty. There's a lot of rolling fish around the jetty. You can target that jetty area at Port O'Connor's 95 to 105 foot there. And they show up and run in and out with the tide. Most anglers are drifting mullet and live menhaden. Lure chunkers are throwing coon pops. Generally, we see an influx this month of tarpon on into October. Things get a little quieter in September. Calm seas, 1 to 2 footers. That's what we're expecting this weekend, and it ought to be really, really good for the poons.
Thanks, Big, so much. Here are the CCA Texas hotspots for the Middle Coast region. The mid-bay reefs in East Matagorda Bay are good for wade fishermen. Toss she-dogs and mirror lure soft deans for the trout. And redfish are good in West Matagorda Bay against the grass line on the north shoreline. Use live mullet and shrimp.
I honestly can't believe we're already talking about October, November. Oh gosh.
I can't wait for that weather.
So fast. Yeah, that too. That's gonna be great. Not the holidays. I love the holidays.
Yeah.
The Project Smokehouse Lower Fresh region has Lake Falcon, Travis, Georgetown, Belton, and Choke Canyon in the spotlight. So let's say hi to Matt Reed and get this party started. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Brie. How are you?
Great. Let's get to the report. You've got a lot of lakes to cover.
I do. Just going to start off talking about bass like I do most every week. Let's kick it off with my favorite, Falcon Lake. It's fishing really well right now. We're catching good numbers and a bunch of just true giants mixed in. So, it's just awesome down there. The best way to get the job done is with a Carolina rig, a Texas rig, or a big crankbait. You want to focus on the main lake rock humps and ledges. Also the brush piles out there on those same type areas. There's a lot of man-made brush piles. When you find one of those, you need to throw a Texas rig in there and try to catch you some. Just been amazing down there lately. Give me a shout, and we'll try to go get you some. Moving over to the Austin area, Brian Cotter sends me a report from Lake Travis that is fishing really well super early in the morning. That clear water, you need to get up before sunrise and get out there. There's lights, around the docks and stuff. A lot of time there's residual fish real early in the morning around those lights on those docks. You want to throw a crankbait or a spoon around that. Also, you can work the cliffs, early, real tight to the bank, throwing a jig at them. I'm catching a lot of fish like that right now, right at daylight. Later in the morning, there's a good bite, throwing a 4-inch yum dinger type bait and watermelon candy is probably the best color. You want to do that halfway back in the coves. Moving over to Lake Georgetown, it's also kind of an early deal right now in that late summer. They're throwing crankbaits and shaky heads on the 15-foot deep water banks where you've got bluffs there. Later in the day, they're moving out on the main lake points and ridges in that same 15 to 20-foot range. Upriver, where you've got a little more watercolor. Spinnerbaits are working great around the flooded brush and grass. You might also catch one on a frog if they're real shallow if you got some heavy cover. Moving on up a little bit north to Lake Belton. It's fishing good out deep right now. Brush piles and rock piles are your key targets. Throw jigs and Texas rigs at them with a creature bait. You also might pick one up on a deep crankbait. If you want to move up into the dirtier sections where you've got a little cover real shallow, you might catch a big one on a frog. That's a good way to pick up just an extra big fish bite. Not going to get a lot of bites doing it, but you might catch a big one. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon. The water temperatures are really hot. They haven't started to decrease at all, but the feeding activity has increased. During the cloudy and windy days, you want to take some fast-moving lures, a top water bait, a spinnerbait, a frog, a lipless crankbait. Get on the inside edge of the hydrilla lines. Focus on that inside edge as much as you can and cover a ton of water. When you get bit, you want to slow down in that area because those fish are grouped up. Work that area hard, and you may catch you quite a few fish in one little zone. He had 30 topwater bites in one little area the other day. After the sun gets up and gets bright, it's going to turn into a grind on that outside edge of the hydrilla. The best bite is on a Texas rig. Again, cover water until you find them and then slow down. I got a picture of a customer of mine from last week with a bass that she can't hardly hold under her arm. You know, that's an honest double-digit fish there, and she was all smiles.
That's the cutest bass picture I've ever seen. I love it.
Tell us about the crappie.
Let's talk about some crappie. I did a little crappie trip on Falcon Lake this week. It took my customers actually about 2.5 hours to catch a 50 fish limit. You want to focus on the brush piles and 15 to 20 foot. Get you an 1/8 ounce jig in monkey milk or chartreuse white. Hold it right over the top of them because the crappie won't go down to bite it. So that's what you want to look for to catch you a pile of crappie. That's just a picture there of a live well full of a 2-man limit of crappie.
Yeah. Tell us about the white bass and the hybrids there.
All right, Somerville white bass are schooling like they always do. Hybrids and white, you want to focus on the lower end with slab spoons, sassy shad swim baits, and bright colors, and you can load the boat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Here are the hot spots for the lower fresh region. Falcon Lake continues to dish out some amazing bass. Fish main lake rocks and brush piles in 10 to 20 feet of water to find them. And then Texas rig big worms and deep crankbaits are your best bet for some giant bass.
That you can barely hold.
That was
like
a football.
I know, it was football hold, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
That was awesome.
All right, well, speaking of football, since we weren't able to announce the PRASEK'S Game Day Meat Package giveaway winner last week, we are announcing it right now. Congratulations, Grace from College Station. Thank you for participating, and we hope you enjoy all of your PRASEK'S goodies. How about that?
Sounds good.
Sounds yummy to me. All right, we're checking out what the Garmin Lower Coast region is catching this weekend next, but let's see what Dave Ferrell is letting us check out for new products at the CCA Workbench.
Well, we got some of those flutter spoons and flutter jigs that those guys were talking about. They're catching those bass on in those deep lakes.
Shiny.
These things are pretty cool.
So shiny. I'd bite that. All
I
right,
can't
we'll
wait to try them.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by YETI, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrOlure. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program, and StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO, Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. PRASEK began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, PRASEK'S Smokehouse is a Texas tradition, and now PRASEK'S not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit PRASEK'S.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. PRASEK'S meats are made by PRASEK'S, sold by PRASEK'S, and can be delivered in as little as a day. PRASEK'S Smokehouse, a link above.
And Dave, we're back here at the CCA Workbench with some pretty cool.
I'm always hiding.
Cool new products here, man. What we got?
Well, starting off, we're going to talk about some of these cool sunglasses from Costa. These are the Untangled collection, and what the Untangled collection is all about is they've taken a bunch of commercial discarded fishing nets, and they've made all the frames out of those recycled nets.
That's awesome.
And it keeps those nets out of the water and keeps them from keeping on polluting, and makes really cool things out of them. These are right here are called the Pescador. That's the large, kind of a large frame size, a square design, and with that tumble look finish that all of these glasses have actually. That really cool things. Next one here is called the Victoria. Actually, it's a cat eye, obviously for the girls. That's the silver mirror style there. Again, it's got that really cool finish from the recycled nets, and when you hold them in your hand, you can see the label inside.
Yeah, it's got a totally different look than the other glasses.
Very, very, very different. They have a lot of different detail on them and a lot of different little textures and whatnot. Next is we got the little baffin in there. It's got pretty strong sharp angles to it, more of a men's glass, and that's a Blue Mirror 580 glass. And they have also the blue little rubber inserts on the inside and on the temples too. So these will stay on your face really good. They do a good job of doing that, staying on your face. And next they got the Calderas there, the last pair, and those are the gray ones. And again, those are kind of more of a feminine style. But shoot, nowadays you can wear anything you want. It doesn't matter if you like them. If you like them, you can wear them. Actually, I'm wearing these are Costas as well.
Yeah, they look good. I like those, Professor.
I know. Why not? Anyway, check out these Untangled. You're doing a good job for everybody if you get a hold of those. All right, next here we got some blue water gear. I'm always wearing my blue water gear here on the Texas show, but now we got a bunch of really cool things for the kids. If you're going to put this kind of stuff into protecting us, we're going to have to protect our kids too. And these are really good, UPF 50, all of them. The Cancer Center says that they're really good for keeping the UVs off you. That one is actually called the shark. The kids, the shark there, and that's the shell pine, I think. Yeah. No, that's the pineapple. Here's the pineapples, the shell pine.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, this is for little girls and whatnot, I guess. I like these.
That's perfect for the. We were talking about this earlier. We both got really fair-skinned kids. I mean, this is great stuff.
You can hold my kids up to the sun and you can see through. You see their internals beaten. But these are the spandex poly blend. They're very light. They have the moisture wicking. They have the antimicrobial. All the stuff that the big boys get to have, and it's good for the kids as well.
Stylish too. I like that.
All this art is done in-house. They have their own artists in-house that do all the blue water gear, and 10% of all their proceeds go to the Moat Marine Laboratory. So again,
great cause. Just
like Costa, when you're doing stuff with blue water, you're helping out the environment as well. Next, we got some fish bites. These are easy shrimp, the fast acting. What that means with the fish bites is that once you put them in the water, they start putting out scent immediately. And instead of lasting longer, which the long-lasting ones do, the fast actions just put out a whole lot of stuff at once. It's almost impossible to use them long enough to get it all off there.
Yeah.
But you can use them a long time. They come in 5 different colors. They're a 1/2 inch wide by 12 inches long. You bring a pair of scissors. You cut them as whatever length you want.
They work so good on just like a 1/4 ounce jig head, a piece of this. Everything eats it.
They are perfect for that, for redfish, trout, flounders, you name it. Lastly, but not leastly, that's not a word, is it?
Yeah, I like it.
Lastly, but not leastly.
These things look really cool.
Yeah, these are live target. That's called the erratic shiner, and that's a 3/4 ounce spoon. And these are some nice flutter jigs. That's one's called the flutter shad, and the other one's called the flutter sardine. They weigh about 1.5 ounces a piece.
I bet you could cast this a mile.
They will cast 2 miles, and in 40 feet of water in some of these Texas lakes where nice deep clear lakes, you can use these and just drop these things over some of those treetops that are in that deep water and let it flutter, 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 get down there to the tops of the trees and start jerking it up and down, and bass will come in just like a grouper will to a butterfly jig in salt water. Right. I mean, that's exactly what's going on with these.
Redfish eat that too, I bet.
Correct, and these are live target baits. And just taking advantage of a whole new type of deal there.
That's cool.
With the flutter shads and the flutter sardines.
Thank you, Dave. That's some cool stuff, man. What do you think, Brie?
Dave's CCA shop. I actually have some of those blue water gear for Mia. They work very well. They're super cute
I think I'm gonna take one of these for little Molly Moo.
You should. You should. All right, Captain Chad Kinney is taking us catching in the Garmin Lower Coast region. So Chad, tell us what we're hooking up to and get us excited for the weekend.
Good deal. Yeah, speaking about the weekend, the weather's looking really good. We do have a Wahoo Classic fishing tournament coming up, so it's guaranteed like 15,000 payout. That's on Saturday. So moving into the fishing, it has been good. And it's looking great for coming up here, starting out with the inshore fishing. The trout fishing's still remaining really good along the lower coast here. We had that little bit of depression come in and hit Mexico, so the tides kind of fluctuated up and buried up some of the water. But the trout are still holding that 3 to 5 foot of water along the grass lines. Live croaker is working really, really well in the sand pockets of the drop-offs there. You throw in some plastics. I'm still using the saltwater sass and the sea shads, working really well on that with a 1/4 ounce or 1/8 ounce jig head. If you're looking for the bigger trout, they're out there, but they're really scarce. I've been seeing some up in the flats, up on the east side from like the land cut all the way down the east cut here out of Fort Mansfield. Head there early in the morning in the a.m., throw some mirror lure top waters early on them. Like I said, there's not big numbers on that stuff, so you guys can really work at it, do lots of casting, lots of wading, and move and do the calm weather conditions. But there's been some good style trout out there. I got a really good picture of Charlie Dukin down here with Ken Ellis. Got a good release on that big trout there. So moving on the redfish, they're showing up in the flats also, which is good. Finally hitting those guys there. With calmer days, like I said, it's a lot easier to see these wakes pushing in the morning. So most effective ways to kind of, do S-turns through the flats. And you find the most wakes pushing, if you see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fish real quick in a row, or if you find a school, of course, go ahead and do a big loop around there, shut your boat down so you're not fishing out the wake that you just went through there, but go ahead and power pole down. Also get off and go wait. It's the best way to use this because you're going to be able to be moving. Or if not, if you got a polling boat like a Maverick like we can pole through there and get in the skinny water and then start sight casting that stuff. And you guys have really good, precision on your casting and stuff. Try to hit, 3 to 5 feet in front of the fish and behind where the head's pushing on the wake. And use a really quick retrieve gold spoon, weedless gold spoon, working really well. 8 to 1/4 ounce gold spoon on that. Or also the saltwater assassin. I like switching over to a paddle tail when you get in the chartreuse color and a tail like that and start quick retrieves on that. Got a picture of one of my clients wake fishing with it hooked up on a red there, but you can see it's been some slick calm warnings, which is really starting to help the bite out.
That's a cool picture there, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun. It's getting the time of year to start doing all this stuff. So there's been also offshore. There hasn't been a lot of weed lines or anything like that in the deep shrimp boats out there, but there's been some really good fishing. So if you find any floating debris, make some trolls past it. Using islander lures, go ahead and rig them with some smaller values. If you're just looking for Dorado, they can hang around anything that's debris or holding it. A 5-gallon bucket will do it. Anything out there that you see, work on it like that. And they're going to be in good numbers this time of year out there. So if you do see anything like that, pull your islander lures right by them, rigged up. You get some knockdowns, you're going to get some more numbers. You can get back up there, back your boat up, start chumming out, and the Dorado will come up and get a little live bait hook and, kind of pitch to them. But if you're looking for those bigger bull Dorado, it's a lot better to be pulling those islanders along and working on that area. Get a blue and a white, rigged up, or a pink and a white works excellent there. But we got a picture of a 26 Dorado we got there the other day, and we left them biting.
Wow.
Yum.
And then moving over to the
Holy cow.
moving over to billfish, that's really picked up. So if you guys are, bill fishing guys, or if you're, whether you're really good at it or want to go get one, we've caught everything in the last week or so as far as white marlin, blue marlin, sailfish. They're hitting, running 100 fathom curve area around Colton, Oasis Dome, stuff like that, the canyon. And then also in the floater rigs, they're producing some really big blues. Look up to like Hoover Diane, Perdido, the drill ships, and stuff like that out there. Pull your chuggers on your flat lines, and then islander rig with value on your riggers, and have some bid rates out there. You'll have some good success on that. If you have access to like tuna tubes, then you can try live bait and blue runners, bonita, small tuna and stuff like that if you're just targeting one big blue. And then, of course, make sure to have your tags, everything ready if you're going to go out that far and work after that big fish like that. And, of course, I always practice the catch and release on that. So I got a picture of 6 feet deep here. Got a big blue marlin that just released at the floater rig.
Wow, it's a monster.
Wow,
there you
beautiful.
Go. Now you're talking.
Hey, Chad, before we go, Mama Murphy's in the house. She wants to know how her puppy Bam Bam is doing.
Bam Bam is whimpering as I'm talking right now, but he's in good shape. He's rolling around. He's got a belly full of food.
Oh, good.
Nice.
All right, well, they're excited. Okay, thanks, Chad. Here are the hot spots for the lower coast region. Tommy, take that away.
Here we go. Inshore, trout fishing has been good in the lower Laguna Madre. Land cut to Lombar out of South Padre is producing trout. Redfish are showing up on the flats on the east side by Arroyo City. And offshore, Dorado has been good along any floating structure. Look to the floater rigs for the billfish action.
Yes, well.
Molly, you're going to get this one.
Molly's getting that one. Molly, move.
She likes turtles.
Getting the turtles. Mia just learned how to say turtle.
Turtle.
She says turtle. It's really
Nice.
cute. But yeah, so you don't know, but the Murphys are getting one of Chad's puppies.
Oh. And it's a beautiful little dog.
Beautiful little pup. And they're fattening him up, so I hear.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great.
I would like to have one of them.
Would you?
Yeah, but the wife.
Then you have another child.
Won't let
The
me
wife,
have another
the child.
Dog.
You have children.
Yeah.
I love
Would
dogs.
you have a puppy too?
I'd like one, but no.
No.
No. That's,
Never.
We have 3 puppies there, but
Yes.
they're
I have one child, and puppy's not in my future.
The big dogs, you know, they take up a lot of room and they smell. My little dog doesn't take up a whole lot of room, doesn't smell a lot.
No.
I can take it, you know, on the, you know, everywhere to the Ace Hardware under my arm.
Do you have a purse for him?
I don't have a purse for the
Here
dog.
we go.
No, actually,
All right,
I don't even carry it.
We
I let
just
it walk.
started airing Texas Insider Fishing Report on our YouTube channel on Thursday now, so check it out every week.
Check that out.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here,
Thanks for
Tommy,
having me.
filling in. Thanks, Dave, of course. You look great in those glasses. We'll
Yes,
see you
I
guys
do.
next week. Bye.